Yo, 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 you are now tuned in to episode 4 of Options Gang Radio. What is this? It's Monday evening, April 13th. You know what I'm saying? We still knee deep in the jig. We don't know what the government got planned up their sleeve, you know what I'm saying, in response to the coronavirus. We got a very, very special guest today. He comes from a different side, I guess, of finance or trading, investing, however you want to call it. But we got the good brother Bitcoin Zay on the line. Most of you may have known him from, our previous episodes on Cryptology podcast, or you might know him from his own book, because you a celebrity low key right now. You got the book now, so you like, you know what I'm saying, you touring with books.
Semi-famous.
Say that again?
You don't know me, but you know me.
Nah, you definitely famous.
You don't know me.
What's been good though, man? I mean, it's crazy because I actually wish I probably caught you deeper into the drop when we had crypto taking that big L, but crypto made some nice recoveries since then. What are you seeing right now with crypto? One thing if anything, I think I've noticed is we're definitely seeing more of the decoupling from where crypto was trailing traditional stock market asset classes, and it's not necessarily following the pattern of behavior of the market as you used to be able to make predictions on crypto based on how the stock market moved. And we kind of get into a space where it's not necessarily moving in a way that's correlated with the market. What's your take on that?
Well, let me just start off by saying this, man. Shit is different now. If you haven't noticed,
everything is different
now. So if we had this conversation 2 months ago, I could have probably gave you the blueprint, told you exactly, what how the plan is going. But if you haven't noticed, of course, like you said, with the coronavirus going on, everything's different now. So with crypto, it's no different. The good thing about crypto is that it was built to sustain certain, impacts that have come, such as, this economic downturn. And, with what you're doing with the options, of course, with the futures market, with any market where you can make money, there's always money to be made, but this is a weird time because you have, 7 million people unemployed, but the stock market's going up. What the hell is that? Like,
you had,
it's like, what?
Bro, 16 million
very
people,
weird time.
16 million people unemployed. Like, that shit is unheard. It was 3 historic.
I haven't even updated since last week because I'm tired of watching the news.
Bro, we had 3 straight weeks.
Of people.
We had, I think before 3 weeks ago, the highest, the record for unemployment was something like 260 something thousand, something around there. I don't think it cleared 300,000 for a week, and it got close to that in the 2008 crisis. But the first week was like 3 million. The next week was like 6.6, and the week after that was like another 6.6. And like you said, we had the highest gains in the market since I think they said 1938 or something crazy like that.
Very, very weird time, and it seems like most of the middle class is broke, but the stock market is going. That just goes to show you the stock market is not a reflection of the economy at all. But from a trading standpoint, as far as crypto goes, I think it's starting to prove itself as a safe haven. Not all the way there yet. However, if you talk about volatility, Bitcoin's been pretty steady the last few months. And if you go off of last year, if you went off a year's time, you doubled your money. So for those people who are like, I don't know what's going on with crypto if you lose money. I've been in it 7 years at this point. You know me, I've been around. So unless Bitcoin goes, below 3 digits, I'm pretty good. But for everybody else, it's still early. The crypto trading game is something to be learned still real early. And I think this is a good test to see what is a real safe haven. Hey, I do want to throw out there in 30 days, the most scarce, quote unquote, commodity will be Bitcoin. It'll be more scarce than gold, more than silver, than anything else. So that is one of the good things about it. And of course, in your market with options, there's always money to be made.
No, that's a fact. And now, speaking of volatility, people can't even talk about volatility now. When you look at what the stock market did in the last month, that's the epitome of volatility right there. So if anything, that definitely amplified the case for cryptos. But I don't know if you're privy to the digital Fed coin that has been toted out there, and it was potentially, well, there's two things. First, they were toting out the potentially doing stimulus payments through a digital Fed coin. Now I see that they've allowed Square to be one of the to allow people to be a recipient for stimulus money. So you're kind of still redirecting. You're allowing, first of all, you're allowing a segment of the population that isn't banked to become banked, but you're also giving them a platform where they can also easily transfer that money into Bitcoin, via the same app that they're receiving a stimulus check. I think the timing is funny that they mentioned the Fed coin alongside of when they also added, this, where they're now allowing Square to become a potential provider. Well, I think it's already in the books that it's definite.
Yeah.
What do you feel is, because I feel like, if anything, the jig is coming for Bitcoin, where the government is really going to clamp down, or if not, if it doesn't work out into a complete clamp down, this is how they pivot to issue their own digital currency to supplement or to supplant Bitcoin, at least from a legal perspective.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people in the U.S. think that. The biggest thing I tell people is this is an international currency. If this is a sort of pushback from other countries, if they get sanctioned, such as Iran, Venezuela, some of the small ones, or even if they have some sort of pushback from China, from Russia, from these big countries, that's where you'll start to see what I mean when I say Bitcoin is a digital reserve currency, and what others have said as a digital reserve currency around the world for anybody who doesn't want to use the American dollar. Because right now we have, the most powerful, the petrodollar is most powerful right now. Cash is king, whatever. Thing is, things change, and right now I think we start to see the beginnings of maybe Rome falling. And unfortunately, from an economic standpoint, the dollar's value is only as good as the scarcity of people that can use it, and we're printing money so fast right now. Who knows in the future how valuable it'll be? But the countries are like, yeah, we don't need you. Crypto will still be here no matter what. What? Because that's humans' decision. You basically choose between humans and math, and that's why I like crypto. But from a human standpoint, as far as the market where it's going now, I would not be surprised to see some pushback with a Fed coin, with coins from other. I mean, everybody got a coin now. Everybody and their mama can create a coin from scratch. But the good thing about the open market is people don't want it, people won't buy it. There's been stable coins from a bunch of big names. Nobody wanted it, nobody used it. So,
I mean, I still don't get stable coins.
We'll see what happens, but the Fed coin is going to be pushed on people, definitely.
But here's the crazy thing. I'm glad you mentioned a little part that, honestly, before a month ago, I would agree with you 100%. But there's a piece of that you mentioned that I kind of, at least the last month, has made me kind of reconsider, is that, well, math doesn't matter anymore. So when people start talking about inflation, right, and they talk about like government spending, and here's the crazy part, because, all right, you got, I mean, within the last 2 weeks alone, we have, I think it got to be at least $5 trillion worth of spending. Mind you, like the national student debt could have been paid over like 5 times already, just in the amount of stimulus and quote unquote bailouts that were paid just in the last 30 days alone. But during that same token, the dollar is strengthening against other currencies globally during this entire month while this whole thing is declining. So again, it gets to the point where, I mean, we all kind of have to concede to the fact that some portion of this game is rigged. Just life, just everything. What? This whole fucking...
I mean, they're buying up bonds like you've never seen before. Come on, man. We all know it's rigged. It's just who knows about it, and whoever's rigging it, do they have the money to get away with it?
But here's the thing: is inflation a real thing? Can it even really happen? Like, can currency really get devalued? I mean, that's the logic and math would show. You print more of a currency, it will deflate the monetary supply. I mean, we know how the economics work. We know how the logic works. We know how the math works. But what we see in our reality right now is the complete opposite. And again, some may say this is just...
What I say is inflation, the money when the money's pumped into the system, it goes to certain people, right? Those people, if they're using that money to buy bonds, to buy assets, whatever, to inflate the stock market's price to make it look good, that's fine. The problem is you always need a bigger fool and a system where you need people to buy these assets that you hold in order to uphold the system. When people are broke, if people don't have the money to do it, it starts to collapse within itself. You start to see maybe a Lehman Brothers type situation with one of these companies. It only takes one big domino to fall, and I think we're starting to see that. The problem is, it's being propped up right now. I think in the stock market, we're seeing a dead cat bounce. But S&P, NASDAQ, we're seeing one of the biggest dead cat bounces ever. It's like the last few CEOs that were late to the party. Take you a little bit of money, we're going to pump it a little bit, and then the bottom's going to fall out. Because once people start thinking, hey, they can put as much money as they want into it, I'll start investing just to buy stuff cheap. They're going to dump on you. And unfortunately, this has been done before. It's pretty much a similar chart from 08, 09. And it was the same sentiment. People were like, well, it can't be that bad, can it? And for about 2-3 weeks, it wasn't. They quilled it, and the same thing happened. Market super dumped, and then, of course, we had a huge bailout. The problem now with the bailouts now is they're pumping even more money into it. So they're just making the bubble bigger than it already is. However, the mindset of people has changed. People have way more access to information, and Bitcoin, I think, is one of those things that wasn't invented when it happened before in 08, 09, which can help, but also to the mindset of people. The mindset that people are like, yeah, no, I'm not getting fooled like that anymore. I realized what it is. I'm moving another way. So we'll see how it happens, but I think you're right. The money being pumped into it has a lot of people thinking like, hey, shit, if this is the market, we just can pump money into it forever and everything can just go up in value for the rest of our life.
And another thing, another dynamic.
You gotta pay for it at some point.
So true. I mean, that's what we saying. But again, the way they're spending right now,
who do we owe? I know people always say that. Who do we owe? Yeah, who we going?
That's a deep question, brother. That's like an hour-long question right there. You know what I'm saying? Because whether it's the Chai Coms or it's the the Ashkenazi banking families that really run the world, we could get super deep with that.
Super deep with it. Yeah.
But here's the crazy thing, though. The dynamics that's different from back then, though, is that we were still at a point. I mean, there was still a thing called too big to fail. But we still let some people fail. Like, even though we were still violating pure capitalism at that point and still entering socialism where we're starting to bail out companies at that point, now we gotten into a point where they're just doing blanket bailouts. So they're just pretty much saying, and I mean, part of it is because this was a self-created problem. I mean, like, we told businesses to stop functioning, for X amount of time.
Thing gonna happen, yeah.
So, but now we getting into a point where we're not even allowing businesses to fail. So when does that corrective action when does that corrective cycle ever even develop in the market if we don't let anything happen?
Man, it's weird. I think it'll happen organically. Like you said, all these businesses not being allowed to function. As much as they're trying to prop up the market, the people who are out here feel it or will feel it. And I think it'll be too much of a pushback from people for it to not be a problem. And I think people will start looking at politicians different. I think the U.S. is basically showing the emperor has no clothes. Like, basically, we showed our weaknesses. We show where, we're not that good at stuff we do. I think people started to pick up on that. So from a financial standpoint, I think a lot of people going forward, they'll think way more about, like you said, inflation or how the U.S. budget functions, because it's not for us. I can tell you that right now. That's why, like I said, I love what talk about politics wise, because none of them care about us. So you can go ahead and throw that away right now. They're not going to help economically. So.
Yeah, no, we know that. That's a fact, and that's the craziest part about it. I keep telling people. Yeah. I don't think a lot of people realize that this is a huge consolidation, whether it's on a personal level or it's on a business level. What you're going to see is a lot of small businesses are going to fail. So a lot of small businesses are going to get wrapped up, eaten up. Whatever, skeletons of a successful business remains, big corporations are going to eat them up. A lot of people are going to realize that, the unemployment, I don't even know how long they have the current stimulus package. I think it's for 6 months. But realistically, when fall comes, there's going to be massive real layoffs, not like the temporary corona layoffs. You have companies that are still functioning and are now reevaluating did they need that same capacity of workforce? So they're going to be continually to make changes. And then you got places like